If it's undercovered, underreported, or a waste of time, you can be sure we'll be heard. Nothing is off limits.
Welcome to Broad Street Radio.
Welcome to Broad Street Radio. I'm Michael Morris with my buddy Nathan Schoener. Shoney, how are we doing today?
It's Nathan Schoener.
I want to give you a nickname. It's a hockey nickname. It makes you cool.
I'm not a chain restaurant, Shoney's.
Did I ever tell you the story about when my daughter and I went to Florida and I hadn't been there in a decade or whatever. So I take her to Disney and it's pouring down rain. And so I'm like, well, let's just go to somewhere to eat near the hotel. So we go to the Olive Garden. It's an hour and a half wait just to get, the table, there's no servers available. That's the problem. So I'm like, we're not going to wait an hour and a half. And again, it's pouring down rain. It's cold for Florida. And all I see is this sign from the back of this restaurant that said America's Diner. And I'm like, hey, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's go over here. We go and it's a Denny's because I could not see that. So anyway, Shoney's is probably better. But Shoney, I have a question for you about, I want to know, does experience matter? And any woman listening to this show will know that you need more experience. But Jeff Saturday, who was working for ESPN, played for the Colts his entire career as a center, was hired as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. They blow all these other people out. So a guy who's never coached above the high school level is now leading a huge sports franchise, a multi-million-dollar company, let's call it. And his offensive coordinator is a 30-year-old quality control person, will be calling plays in an NFL game. When you see something like that, does it make you look at your life and go, I could have been the head coach of the Phoenix Coyotes. I don't know how to skate, but I've played it on, Xbox or something.
Hey, it just means that you can do anything you want in America. I
truly think that is the best way to phrase it. You can be anything you want as long as someone's dumb enough to hire you.
It's true.
Is there a scenario? Well, I don't want to get into the weeds with this thing, but I do think it's funny that the owner of the Colts, known alcoholic, wants to get rid of Daniel Snyder owning the Washington Commanders, wants to get rid of him because he's saying he's unjust and he's racist and all these other things. They break what's called the Rooney Rule, which is you're supposed to interview minority head coaches before you make a decision. And he didn't do that, so he ignored the rule. Do you think it matters if you have experience, or do you think anyone can do any job, to be honest?
I definitely think that you should have experience, but on the other token, if the owner of the team or those above the coach is just going to be like, hey, you
guy on TV,
you know how to make plays and know how to play the game of football, you can coach the team. You may not have experience, but go ahead. We'll give you a shot. But don't you think
it's weird? And that is really it. I know it's a football team, but it still is a business. It is a corporation. Have you ever been in a situation, we've all been there where we're like, you promoted that piece of goo, right? And you got passed over when you probably know how to do something better. Do you think that anybody would have justification to be like, hey man, that's not right?
Yeah, but again, it's the owners of the team. They have the right to hire whoever they want. If they want to hire somebody with no experience, they have the right to do it. Whether they feel like it's the right move or if they're just trying to tank the season so they can get first pick coming up.
That's another thing. I didn't even think about that part where you're trying to tank so you can get better. What better way to do it? This is the movie Major League right here. I'm going to hire somebody that's working at a tire store and get all these other guys that can't play in any other organization. And I don't care if they win or not.
Could be playing the long game.
Would you be okay with that if the Bengals decided we're just going to tank and they're going to tell you for 2 years we're going to tank? Would you be okay with that?
No, but again, I'm a fan, and those 2 seasons are going to suck. But if we're talking, as the Colts are a business, then I feel like, as the owner of that business, I can hire.
I agree with that.
Whoever they want.
But the revenue that comes in are people buying because they're diehards, right? I'd want my money back. If I signed up for something and you're like, guess what? I am putting the Titanic right into the iceberg. I need you to come and the seats are $100 a pop. That's where, as a business, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't care who's the head coach of anything, because you can hire someone with tons of talent and tons of experience and they can be the drizzling shits.
They should have hired you. You're just mad because they didn't consider you for the position.
I'm going to say this. On Madden, I am terrible, but I can't play any defense, but I can call slant plays on every single play. For some reason, you can do that. I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see this guy go, it works on the computer. Why didn't it work here? Are nerds taking over the world?
They have been. You just may not have known.
You mean they sneakily took over, like the CIA nerds took over everything?
Or, people that Bill Gates and
that guy's the biggest
Steve
pussy.
Jobs and...
Okay, you make a solid point. Here's my question about that. So when you look at in baseball, they'll say the game is boring because so many people strike out. The analytics of the game only want home runs or strikeouts, because anything else you do with the ball, I mean, this is not a perfect example, but if you can get the starting pitcher to throw 100 pitches by the 6th inning and you can get walks and that, if you get 2 guys on, you hit a 3-run home run, your chances of winning goes up, right? It's all mathematical formulas, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people that are running teams. Those are not the teams that are winning, though. Like everyone's trying to adopt that because they're taking that money ball strategy. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense if guys get on base, if pitchers throw strikes, that kind of thing. But do you think that is taking over every business, not just sports?
It could be. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in all the businesses, so I'm
just saying in terms of like if you worked at a Best Buy or you worked at Home Depot, there's somebody who's making those mathematical formulas and saying we need X amount of people on the floor. They need to work this many hours. They need to do this.
In that instance, yes, I agree. They may not be like the head honcho, but there's some VP of analytics or something. Yeah, of course.
What I find interesting is, so there's the old school way of management and there's like the new, more emotionally available type of manager. It still comes down to one thing. It's your P&L, profit and loss. Mm-hmm. What I see is a misunderstanding of how to make money these days. So if you have an old school manager who is just riding your ass constantly and demanding things out of you, they're supposed to be making you better. Mm-hmm. The new way is let's all talk about it. Let's talk about how you feel about it. Yeah. And we know a situation where somebody, when they talk about their feelings, they don't make any decisions. Yeah. So it doesn't get better. The problem just festers. But on the other side of it, the analytics that's bringing in all the business, that's what's making this tenable. If you weren't bringing in business and you have this problem, now everybody's upset.
Yeah.
When you're bringing in business, so people were so busy working on the business part, this doesn't seem to matter. I don't know which way is better. For me, I never liked a manager that yelled and screamed. It was super aggressive. Like, just tell me what we need to do here.
Yeah.
Some people respond to that type of thing, getting your ass kicked around. But I think that as we're moving on, I see more and more people like, it's okay. I'll take him to lunch and I'll just talk about it. Which way would you rather be managed?
I think there might be a good hybrid, not the, hey, I'm going to yell at you or anything like that, but like, hey, let's motivate you. You're not making all the sales you could be making. You missed an opportunity with such and such customer to upsell them or, whatever the case may be. I think there's going to be extremes, but I also think that every person's different. So like, I think whoever's like if you're a manager of a team, your job, yes, first and foremost is, to make sure that your team is, productive, making money, whatever a case may be. But your job is also to know each one of your team, each person on your team and be like, okay, Joe Schmo is better at like, you know what, this is what you need to be doing. Better, do it again. Kathy Bates needs to,
chop up legs
and needs a little bit more hand holding. So you're put in that position to be able to manage your team properly. So, I don't think there's a one way to do it.
I think that what I've noticed is, again, just in my business and media, they've driven the creative aspect out of it. It's a business that thrives on creative and on ideas. There's no idea people anymore. They've gotten rid of those people because I think on every team, if you have 10 people, you have to have 2 people on that team that are just absolutely fucking worthless. They are the bottom of the barrel. They do just enough not to get fired. You have your top tier people who are just kind of, you can't coach what they can do. You can't understand it. You can't teach it to somebody else. They are, that top of the sled is pulling the back end. In the middle, you have to have your kind of, what I would call your hammers. They don't get flustered. They don't get upset. They just keep going. Mm-hmm. What you see is you see everybody is the same. Whether it's, I'm just talking about sales organizations that I'm around, radio stations, TV stations. The people that were the most creative were the ones that figured out the problem. And like you'll see, when we were having conversations with clients, I don't ask them how much money they want to make or anything like that. Tell me what's wrong.
Yeah.
If you tell me what's broken and I can fix that, I have a way to develop something where, okay, maybe it's not perfect, but we're getting better. Mm-hmm. Versus if I just say we're just going to make money, if that's the end goal, you can already do that. You've already stated that. What's the challenge? And I think you need people that, the number one thing I think you can do is ask somebody what they need. So like whenever we talk about your business, when we're talking about it's where do you want to be? Mm-hmm. What's keeping you from getting there? Because we can solve those things in small things. If all it was is how much money do we need to bring in here, we didn't clean up any of the things that are the barrier. Yeah. We just got you there. But the problem still exists, which erodes this again. Yeah. That's every business. That's why I think it matters who is the lead dog, whether it's Jeff Saturday with the Colts or whether it's Bezos with Amazon, whatever it is. You have to take what somebody does really well that you cannot teach. Some people are your hammers in the middle. So like you would be a great example of a hammer. You don't get too high. You don't get too low. You just are able to polish up this turd, whatever it is. That's your role. We know people who make a lot of money who are our dregs of society. And we're trying to get them to do something, but only to a point. Yeah. Because if you don't want to do it, cool, don't do it. Yeah. But you only water the plants that grow, right? So then you kind of go, we just know what that is.
Yeah, you give somebody so many opportunities, and if they just keep pushing it aside, then it's like, all right, well, let's move on to the next person. That's give them the opportunity and see if it'll grow.
The real joy in it is when you find the weird ones, because the weird ones are the ones that say really off the wall, and you're like, Jesus Christ, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, that would be a good idea. Now you can implement it. Yeah, it's hard in this society to find people that want to stand out. Like when we do our green screen videos and all that, people love those things. They're not scripted. We're just making them up on the fly.
Must be 150 feet.
Must be.
Shit. Sorry, I didn't know you guys were coming back. You know what this place needs?
Big round table. 6 chairs. Right there.
Oh, only 5 chairs. There's 3 of you and 2 of us. Totally. Yes. Only 5.
But room for more.
Room for more.
And then people are like, hey, I want to do one of those. Well, I'm sure you do. What's your idea? But at the end of the day, we're just solving the problem. Yeah. We'll come up with the idea for you. Sure. It's just, I wish those people would turn from that to, I've got a concept. I got an idea. How do we make it happen? It's where you have to keep feeding people ideas. That's where I go, I'm not upset about it, but I'm sure you being a creative, you look at it and you're just like, why don't you don't have a scope of an idea? Yeah. You know?
Let me ask you this. So let's say somebody comes up to you and let's say you happen to be in a position, we'll go back to the Colts example. You happen to be in a position to where you know the owner knows you, comes up to you and says, hey, I've hired this guy. Or I'm thinking about hiring this guy. I think it's the best option that I've got. What do you think? So in that scenario, what do you say to somebody like that? Like, this might not be the best idea. I know that you're rock hard for this guy. You really want to go down that road. You know that it's not the right road that they potentially could go on. how do you talk to somebody like that? And
I'm super glad you asked it that way, because this is my whole, people probably heard me say this. I don't know if it's a show or another show. Working backwards is how I always do everything, right? So here would be my thing. That's a great decision if that's what you want, but I need to know what's the outcome.
Yeah.
And people always say, whether you're buying a house or you're buying a pair of socks, whatever, what is the desired effect of this? So for the Colts, if you want to tank, excellent move, right? You're not tainting a future coach you believe in. You're not tainting you're kind of tainting the players that are on your roster, but they're still getting paid, right? So there's no issue there. What I would say is, tell me what you want this to be 5 years from now or 2 years from now, because then you can chart this. We just had a conversation with somebody this morning that can literally, as I always say, they're running a marathon looking at their shoes. They can't see what's beyond it. They don't understand. So when they're talking about something, they're saying, I don't like this. I don't like this about this. I don't like this. And my response was, what? Okay. Are you buying it?
Yeah.
Are you buying it? Or is somebody else buying it? It is being able to see where they need to be at the end of this. Again, that can be a revenue number. That can be a volume number, whatever it might be. It could be how many phone calls they get.
Mm-hmm.
You can give somebody that, but you have to understand what they want. So in a lot of cases, what happens is people haven't fleshed out what they really want, but I want this for now because this makes me happy right now.
Yeah.
It's the supermarket when you're in line to check out and there's all those magazines and the candy and all that stuff. You didn't want that until it was available right now.
Yeah.
You didn't think about any of that. And now it's like, oh, I haven't had Rolos in 30 years. I'm going to get them. Why? Because your impulse is to buy, to grab, to attain. With a client or a business, it's always, I want to help you get there. I want to be part of that solution. I don't need the credit. But if I don't fully understand why you're doing it, I don't want to be part of it. You can tell me, even if it's bad, I want to tank this business. I want to put this right into the ground. How badly do you want to dig this deep? Right?
Yeah.
Because if it makes sense, I'll do it with you. Most people will quit when it gets hard. When it gets easy, they get soft. And they're not hungry because, oh, I'm making money. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you start with money, you will end with money. You will never get fulfillment out of it. I can never be fulfilled because there's not enough money to put into somebody's pockets to truly make them happy. So if I gave you $1 million a year, you would be happy. You'd still have other problems that you didn't sort out. But money's not one of them. But I bet money's not your number one problem overall.
Yeah.
It is a symptom of what's wrong. But again, when people have done campaigns and they've made money, you know why they're pissed? I'm so busy.
Yeah.
I just created another problem by giving you what you thought was the answer.
A lot of people look at money as the end goal, the final obtainable thing, instead of looking at it as what it should be, which is just a tool.
Yes.
Whether it business.
That's the best statement you ever say when you are describing things. So just a little background. We were working with somebody who was talking about different types of cameras and all that stuff. And you said that this is just a tool. And there's a tool for every specific job. So it depends on what is it you want. So you're doing the same thing, working backwards.
Yeah.
So many people don't know what they want that they go running after it. So the project I was working on last night, I know exactly what I want out of that because I'm going backwards. Mm-hmm. When I'm doing that over 12 months, I can measure it, right? I can piece it off and say quarter by quarter, week by week, day by day, whatever. But really at the end of the thing is at 12 months, what I want. Same thing when we're shooting these things. How many shows? We already know we're going to do 52 shows a year, plus the Christmas special. I'm just kidding. That'd be amazing. Yeah, that'd be amazing. We just had 53 and it's just us doing karaoke. But when we know we're doing that. Anybody else that does a show, we don't do any part-time people, any of that stuff. If you're doing it, it's 52 shows. Why? Because we say it is. So every week there's a piece of content that someone can hear what you have to say. Because of experience, I wasn't doing it, right? So we didn't always do that in the beginning. But when I did radio shows, it was every single week. And you think you're going to run out of topics. You never run out of topics.
Yeah.
You run out of enthusiasm. And whenever you are not, if you don't have a passion for it, that's where it dies. because passion is the only thing that keeps you going every single morning. So if I didn't want to do this tomorrow, if I woke up and I was like, I'm just not feeling it. I don't want to write a script. I don't want to be with a client. I don't want to talk about anything. I can't wait to talk about these things every day. And I'm sure I see you when you're talking to people and it's like your eyes light up. You're like, that's your stage. And then you kind of do that from the Hulk to Bill Bixby. And you're just like, okay, that was my moment. But that's when you really shine, is that someone's asked you, explain this to me.
Yeah.
I learned this a long time ago. What we all need in this life is a witness. Somebody to see what we're doing or what we create. The good news about what we create is even if you died tomorrow, this stuff's still on the internet, right? It's still out there. It is making something that didn't exist be without you being there. And that's what you all want.
Working on leaving a legacy.
Yeah, but the legacy could just be, was he a cool dude?
Yeah.
Was he a good father? Was he a good husband? Was he right?
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. So that's a lot of times why when we're doing this stuff, it's not about me doing something. It is me. What I hope is that somebody gets something out of it and goes, you know what? I was having a shit day, but then, you know what? It's not that bad. It's waking people up to say, if you knew what you really wanted, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now. And that's the sad part is I think people do, well, I'll only do this 30 years and I'll be retired.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah. There's people that I know that continually like count down. Like day I'm 65, I'm, retiring 20 more years. Here I go. Or, 30 years or whatnot. Like here's another year in such and such business, such and such more years to go. And, good for, I'm not going to judge them or whatever, but I just find that very unrewarding to be like, you're just kind of working to work to retire instead of finding something that you can do.
Do you remember the gold watch?
Yeah.
So I have two instances of two guys that worked at the same company where I worked. One guy worked 35 years. The day he retires, he's packed all his stuff. He said everybody went to lunch and everybody was like, hey, wait, see you go, whatever. And he's waiting on something. He's waiting on them to come around with something. His boss finally comes around, shakes his hand and said, hey, thank you for all those years. He was waiting on an award or a watch. And he'd been waiting on this for 30 years because somebody else got one in the 70s when he'd heard of it and he thought he was going to. Guy just walked away and then he sat there with his box and he was like, that's it.
Wow.
All he wanted was that one piece of, you've done this for us.
Yeah.
Nobody gave a shit. Another guy put in 27 years. We all worked together. He gets into disagreement and they blow him out of there after 27 years. So the guy literally over the course of that time brought them probably close to $250 million. He was the number one guy in the entire region. He gets in a disagreement, they blow him out. So wow. What is your legacy? If you don't take another job, it will be how did he end? He got fired.
Yeah.
And he was unhappy the last decade there anyway. And every time we would talk, I would say, you got to leave. You got to leave. You got to get out of there. I was lucky that somebody at 27 that I didn't even know, a guy named Jim Hearn, I always give this guy credit. We met one time and he said, why are you doing this? And I thought he meant like, why did I come to this meeting? We don't know each other. It's 5 minutes in. And he said, you should be doing this for yourself. I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. Like, how would I do that? And he goes, you just walk out and you do it for yourself. Did not understand what he meant. And so what he would do is every Monday, he would call me at 8:30 on the dot to see if I was sitting there. And he would say, you're still there? And I go, yep. And he goes, call you next Monday. And he'd hang up. And eventually I got it. And I said, he called and I said, I'm packing up. I'm leaving. He said, it only took you 5 years, but it's going to be the smartest thing you ever did. At the time, I'm like, this is a huge mistake. Mm-hmm. I am just going to bet on myself. And I thought it's not going to work out, but at least I had the balls to do this.
Yeah.
I never looked back one time. You need somebody in your life that will do that for you. And I hope everybody finds it. The problem is most people don't.
Yeah.
Because companies don't say, you know what, you're a real kick-ass at this. You should do this for yourself. They want you to stay exactly where you are.
Exactly.
But like you said, it's an unfulfilled life if you're just punching that clock every day. You should be able to do things that when you were gone, people look at it and go, thank God he did that. Even if it's something dumb like what we're doing right now. This will live on well beyond us. Maybe no one watches. Maybe one person does.
Yep.
That's the only reason I keep doing this, is that someday someone's going to look at this and go, I don't know if that was funny or if that was dumb, but it was well worth 27 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah. Except for anytime you're speaking, either the other person speaking or me. Usually when I'm behind the camera, or
nobody gets anything out of what I'm saying.
Camera. That's what they're looking for. That's
you are the
meat
real
of it.
star. Do you find that you look up to me? Like right now under this, you should be playing. Do you ever know that you're my hero and all that while I'm talking to you? Do you ever
Don't
think
tell me how to edit the show.
I'm just giving a suggestion. I just thought, like, when you started this business and you're not knocking on, that's the thing, is like, we don't knock on doors. I think people think in media, you're just knocking on doors. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
When you're doing this, day one, what was that experience? Like, so now you own it. Here's the keys. What were you doing?
Like, well, I need to get some clients and start making some content.
But I mean, were you just sitting in a room and you're like, okay, this is for real?
Yeah.
Like, I find most people when they do it, they don't panic. Not on the first day. It takes about a month where you go, what did I do? Why did I do this?
I think for the first month, at least the first month, maybe first few months, I kept thinking in the back of my head that imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it, where it's like, I'm talking to this person across the table from me to give me money to make content for them, and I feel like a fraud. Like I feel like,
like you don't deserve it.
Yeah, like that first kind of this, like, putting on that front of being confident and like, yeah, this is how we, because it took time to like make content for clients, figure out exactly what it is that they need, because they, at least in my business, they don't always know what they need to help them with their business. So I had to learn how to look backwards, right, or, like, figure out what their end goal is and look back and like, okay, this is the type of content we need to make for you. It took time to learn that. So there was plenty of times I remember my first handful of meetings of getting some new clients together, of just going like, yeah, okay, you want this piece of content? Great. We can do that. I can edit. I mean, I knew the technically how to do that, but it was, my main goal was just, yep, whatever you need, I'll do it. I can do it. That's fine. You want a video marketing package for your website? No extra stuff, not knowing like, oh, hey, maybe if we add in this thing, this could help this even more.
Right.
Like, yep. Okay. Write your check and I get it and go, that type of thing. So yeah, for the first handful of months, I really felt like that. There's a terminology for it. I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or not, but feeling like I've got to put in on a face to feel to portray that I'm confident, knowing exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, that's the thing about when you're an entrepreneur. I never say entrepreneur. Like, I have an advertising agency. Whatever we make. Like, I don't like labels about anything. So I don't like the marketing director or I don't give a shit about that. It's, can I talk to you? Can we converse? Can you understand? Yeah. I don't need you to understand exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. What I do need you to do is, if I give you enough information, can you understand that I know what I'm doing? That's my only job. But I always tell people, we are doing this without a net, which makes it really exciting.
Yeah.
But when you fall hard and you fall far. When you win, you can only celebrate for a short, like, it's not like the end of an F1 race and we're breaking out champagne. It's shit, I made it another day. No matter how big the victory is. It is, can you sustain those highs and lows? Because eventually you have got to get your ass kicked a lot in life, because that's what makes you even keel. Like, I can say, even like, I'm not saying you were immature, but I can tell the maturity in the last couple of years of how you've dealt with people, because you know that you're not going to fall that far. You've already fallen as far as you can. If you fail completely and you just do it one more time, no one can beat you. Mm-hmm. I see so many people that are afraid to even try because I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
So if I don't try, I don't fail, I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I always tell my daughter, like, winning volleyball games or basketball, that doesn't matter to me. What did you do out there?
Yeah.
I don't care if you score a point, but if you're hustling, you're diving for balls, you're boxing out, or you're returning serve or whatever, I'm watching that because effort turns into victory. If you're not trying at all and you're trying to stay away from it, you're just participating. You can't just participate in life. You have to dominate life. And I don't mean like bully people. It's find a way to constantly stay engaged. You should be exhausted on the weekend. Mentally, not physically.
Yeah.
Because you gave it everything you had. That's why you get the weekend. You get to recharge your batteries and you get to go back at it. You should be excited about Monday. I hate the weekend because I can't do anything. Like I love being with my daughter and my family and all that. But when she goes home on Sunday, I start it again because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked in corporate, I was like, tomorrow's Monday. This sucks. And once I got there, it was fine. But I'm counting down towards Friday.
Yep.
Now I panic when it gets to Friday because somebody might need me and they're not going to call me on the weekend. I like when we make stuff because it's a fun thing to do. And it doesn't exist unless we sit here. No scripts, no nothing for any of these shows. Again, there's no net. So whatever comes out, good or bad. I'm just excited that it exists.
So to recap, because we've come to our time for the week, is the Indianapolis Colts hire somebody with no experience all the way through to Mike doesn't like the weekends.
Okay. Well, it's the same thing because his name is Jeff Saturday.
Oh.
What a great way to wrap.
That is a great way.
All right, you've been listening to Broad Street Radio. We'll see you next week.